G18.
Motion to approve the purchasing director's recommendations on the bids.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. All right.
All right, item G1B regarding bid 22-005 asphalt emulsions for delivery and pickup.
Not what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve the recommendation of the purchasing director.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. I'd like to go to item L1. We have Shane Turner and Fiona Bond here. This is regarding the U.S. Department of Treasury Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund American Rescue Plan Act, discussion or action regarding the eligible expenses and our funding guidelines, reporting requirements, and funding request.
So I'm Fiona Bond, Executive Director of Creative Waco, and of course this is Shane Turner, owner and operator of the Hippodrome.
All right, so we will recess until 1 o'clock tomorrow. So it's 11. All right, good morning. Let's call court to order. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, February 25th, 2022 at 3:10 p.m.
Thank you. And if anyone has a public comment, they can come forward now from the audience. Yes, sir.
My name is Shannon Caraway. I'm Vice President for Business Development for a company called Solar Prime. Currently, we're trying to develop another 300 megawatt solar farm and 300 megawatt battery energy storage project here in McLennan County. And it's out north of Trading House Creek Reservoir, that area there. We're preparing to submit a proposal to this body soon for a county tax abatement for the project, and just wanted to stop by ahead of time, introduce ourselves, and tell you what we're doing.
Going to D on the proclamations resolutions. We have nothing this week. Under E, under consent agenda, I have no recommended pulls. Does anyone else have a pull from the consent agenda they want to discuss? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. All right, Dustin.
Yes, sir. Judge, if we could go to item N1, this is discussion and or action on matters regarding COVID-19.
These case numbers have decreased for the hospitals.
All right, Judge, do you want to accept that for recording purposes?
Yes. Is there a motion to accept that report for recording purposes?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
All right, if we could go to item N10, presentation from Texas State Technical College regarding Central Texas Industrial Training Center.
There's a mismatch between the number of jobs that are available and the number of people that are available to fill those positions.
Move to accept for recording purposes.
Second.
Okay, let's call court order. First thing, I'd like to amend my motion to adjourn yesterday to a motion to recess. So, we did recess, and so we're gonna go back into session. It's 1:30, so Francis?
Yes, sir. All right. So you have a packet in front of you that Haley passed out, just some things that'll be helpful to have in front of you today. We've just had really, up to this point, a day and a half of discussions, but we've covered a lot of heavy topics and gotten through a lot. So today we're gonna continue some heavier topics and then circle back just to our summary if we have time, if time allows. And that's just that front page of the packet. Also, of course, always on the spreadsheet and always updated. But today we're going to start with the IT department. So we have John Carter, the IT director, with us. And so we're going to be walking through his request for next year. So on the second page of that packet is a copy of the budget request, operating budget request for next year. Again, this, if you like to use the spreadsheet, it's Department 0630. And so on this that Haley has pulled up here, you'll see on that bottom section, that's the operating section of the budget. Not a substantial increase from year to year. You'll see there, I think it's about a $73,000 increase from one year to the next for operating. But there's a lot of increases and a lot of decreases, and so we just want to make sure we cover all of those changes. So because this department, it's a little different than some. The next 2 pages in your packet is going to outline each of these lines and what is budgeted within those. And so we'll walk through those, and then John is going to speak on the items that are new or that are revised, that are different than what we've seen in the past. That might be the best way to tackle this. So just starting and moving down that list. So you'll see supplies at the top, list out the detail of supplies, really substantially no increase there, but again, just letting you know what's being spent out of that line. Furniture and equipment, also no substantial change there. The next line is IT assessments. So that's a line that fluctuates from year to year, just depends on the needs for that year. We're gonna come back to that at the end of the conversation. Talk about that in more in depth. Motor vehicle, no change. And then the next line is other services and charges. So other services and charges, there is an increase there. And then you'll see here, of course, I know John can speak on any of the lines, but I thought we'd focus on what is new, what's new and different for this line for his department for this next year. So we just want to start with those orange or yellow highlighted items and walk through those.
So where you see Civic Plus, the mobile app, so what that is we would like to do a mobile app for the county. That would be a companion to our website and allow citizens to access services and all that sort of thing. It's $12,000 for the development cost. And then there would be an ongoing maintenance cost yearly after that of substantially less than that number, but we don't have an accurate quote for that just yet. Excuse me, NeoGov. Now this is for the installation, configuration, and training of the NeoGov applicant tracking system. This is in conjunction with the HR department. And this is, you see $6,000 there. There's another purchase down the way here that's tied to. So we basically have an installation and configuration cost for most of these applications if they're new. And then we have a yearly maintenance cost and usually an initial cost for them when they're new, and we'll go over that. And then down there with OpenGov, a slightly different one. This is tied to Cartograph. So this is the installation and configuration of what would be Cartograph if indeed you do want to go to that. Cartograph is a program I know we had back in 2017, 2018. We moved away from it and moved on to some form of the Munis. But the Road and Bridges indicated interest this year, so we had a demo where I believe most of the admin assistants and folks from your Road and Bridge crews were in on that. Generally positive, everyone thought it was a really great program. I think where we're probably going to stick is a bit of the cost. It's a heavy cost for a new program to reinstitute it anyway. And we can talk about that if you would like. And then just the fourth line there, this is also tied to another request down below for Microsoft 365. This would be to move our email program onto the new collaboration platform that would provide us a lot of benefits, which I'll go into that one separately because that is quite a large deal, if you don't mind, at the end. My guess is we want to talk about Cartograph at all.
Yeah, well, first, why did we leave it? What was it, a financial deal?
As I understand it, I wasn't here, that was long before I came, but talked to my staff and everything. They collected the road and bridge crews and talked about trying to save money by moving on to our common platform, Tyler Munis, which is what we use for financial and I guess HR tracking in the end when you talk about the financial part of that. We use it for timekeeping and that sort of thing. I don't know who started that. I just know that everyone got in and saw Tyler, and the decision was made by the road and bridge crews and IT and HR and finance, I think, not HR, finance, to move on to that application. As I understand it, it saved some amount of money. I don't know the amount sitting here. I don't know if
The misnomer behind it was that it was pitched to the road and bridge, well, to me, that the Tyler program would do the same thing that Cartograph did. But Tyler kind of works on the purchasing side, where you can track materials and purchase orders and account codes. What it didn't, or what we haven't been able to find, if it does do it, is the work order side and the pavement management, the infrastructure side. And that was the component that, for one, the auditor's office used to use, kind of predates Francis, because Dawn was here, Dawn and Steve, where they would actually pull out data out of Cartograph, and they could give a monetary figure to what the road and bridge departments did as far as infrastructure, repairs, and rehab. That seems to be missing, that and also the tracking of work orders. And so when I talked with John, I said, where is the work order module? Because that's what we don't have. We went back to, Big Chief tablet and pencils.
Yeah.
Where we have to just kind of go out and with our eyes, see what we need to do, write it down, and then come back and say, this is what we've done. Cartograph used to allow you to put your infrastructure, give it a grade, and it would tell you, you didn't have to necessarily just go by it, totally, but it would give you an idea of what structures needed the most urgent attention. And so you had a scientific way of dealing with constituents on why you were working in a certain area and not working in another certain area. It also would allow you, as you did the work orders and you said what assets you were working on, it would extrapolate out that information and to give a monetary figure to it at the end of the fiscal year. So that huge piece was missing for me because I want to have something. When I talk to constituents, I don't want to say, well, we went out there and we looked at, and that road looks like it needs more attention than yours. I want to be able to say, based on our system, this is the grade that this road was given, this is the grade your road was given, and this is why. Because it scientifically breaks down why it comes up with that score. So we were told, oh yeah, there's a feature in Tyler that does it. And in 2019 and 2020, we found out if it's there, it's a ghost, we can't find it.
Well, what I can say is that Tyler Munis is really meant for the financial end of things. That truly is not meant as a work order, like management, a project management system, anything like that. We have not found a way to duplicate all the features you had in Cartograph.
Is it a easy-to-use application, Cartograph, you think? In other words, do you have to have a lot of training?
No, not that I'm aware of. Again, all the admin assistants were in the demo, and they all seemed to think it would be a usable program, I believe. Please correct me if I'm wrong, any of the commissioners. But we got very favorable response from everyone who was in the demo. I think really it's just the cost that's really sticking for us now.
So like the road foreman, were they ones looking at it?
Mostly administrative folks. I know Richard was there from Precinct 2. I don't have the full list.
We kind of got a twofer because our dispatcher, and John told me I can't do it anymore, but I swiped one of his computer texts.
Not a good term that we use.
They swipe like credit card.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be a computer science person. It doesn't have to be a network person. And I think probably Chrissy and Suzanne could answer more, because I know Chrissy has worked with that system, and she also worked with Tracker that Commissioner Snell had. And I don't want to talk for those two.
They do, they work some with it. It's more, like, for instance, and Commissioner, correct me if I'm wrong, but we used to see a lot of year-end reports from Road and Bridge, and those are so difficult to do now. I think we tie up IT for quite a bit of time for them to get the information that we need to do the year-end reports. And I think it's just too cumbersome. There's a lot of detailed work outside of the system that has to be done before you can use the system. I know Chrissy is in favor of Cartograph.
Okay.
Is the work going to be duplicated, I guess is what I'm saying. I see a lot of systems where we're having to duplicate entry. We're having to do, put the same information in the same systems.
So the idea here is that sorry.
So I'm hoping that we don't have to do that with it, that this will integrate with Munis.
Is
it a standalone? Is it a standalone program?
It is a standalone program, so as far as direct integration, no, but the only integration it really would have with Munis is tying off purchase orders. So yes, those would have to be then done in Munis.
Well,
And to the point of,
it's a work order software. It is not how you track your POs and your financials. Tyler is financial. Cartograph just seemed to have had a component that I remember Don telling me that they used to pull out data and put it into the CAFR. I never saw how that side worked, but she said based on what we were putting in, she was able to give a cost figure to some things. It's not meant to be an either or. It would have to be an addition to. It doesn't have, and like I told John, it doesn't have to be Cartograph, but I need a work order computerized system. I need a way to track my work and to create work orders that when I talk to a constituent, it's just not something that was subjective.
Okay.
It's an objective approach to it. I think the constituents deserve to have, in 2023, a more scientific way of why we're on a road and not on another.
Okay. So we have a consensus, this is,
I'm good.
Your thoughts on that?
and to the point of cost, we are going back to Cartograph and see what we can do. Negotiating a bit and see if we can drop that
Yeah.
price a bit.
yeah, be good.
Now, I think, and what I love about David is that he was here with the initial install of Cartograph.
Okay.
And I think depending on how we dismantled it, I think Dave said there may be a way to integrate that old Cartograph data in. No,
We've been told no, that there is
I'm not
no
gonna
way
put
to
on the
kind of
spot.
go back, if you will.
Okay.
The data, as I understand, it's there, so we have some historical data, but as far as, moving forward, yes, we just have to start new, fresh.
What are the costs? So it's
So you have the 70,000 there is for the actual install.
50-something.
54,000 is the application cost. I think, finance, check me, make sure I don't miss them.
54,000, it looks like.
Yeah,
54.
and then the 70, right?
Tracy told me to bring that with me. Let's see if I did what Tracy said. I did.
Okay.
$124,000
Yes.
upfront.
That's
and
not
then-
yearly though, is it?
And then what is the yearly?
No, that's
That's just
year one.
That's year one.
Commissioner.
When we talk about this, it will be, whoops. Let's make sure I have the right number. It's the 54,000 that's recurring,
Yeah.
correct?
And that data I have.
So
both.
54,000 the first year.
Okay. I won't pass the wrong stuff. The data that you sent me,
Sorry?
did I hold on to that and let you do the cost? I handed it down. That handout you sent me,
Oh, I'm sorry.
is that still accurate? I don't want to give out.
No, I think that's what Haley, oh, no, is that, My apologies, I don't have that. Well, I might actually.
And we didn't think about it until 120, but we'll make copies and get those to the AAs. And it's information, because one of the things, it's a little pricey, and so I'm not married to Cartograph. I think IT thinks Cartograph is like the A category software, but I am married to the idea of I need a computerized software, a road management system. When I came to the county, we had RSMS, which was a DOS-based road surface management system.
1980,
Uh-huh.
Are there other management systems out there than the application in Tyler, Munis, and Cartograph?
Oh, thank you. I did have one other note. Yes, there are, Commissioner. But there are only, I want to say, 3 that are meant for governments and that sort of thing. And Cartograph just seemed to be the best fit because it's been used. It would be easier to get back and for folks to relearn, if you will, the folks who have used it before. We felt that was the best option based on our research we did. I did have one other note. As not anywhere near an offset to this, but an offsetting cost is $11,102 the first year because there is a module in Munis called Work Orders, Fleet, and Facilities Management that we could not pay for this year and every year thereafter. So it saves $11,102 the first year, $11,657 the second year, and $12,240.07 the third year. So it drops the net cost, and now these are just estimates by us. They won't be exact numbers, but they'll be very close. That would make the first year's net cost, if we did go to the Cartograph, of $107,089. The second year after we get that initial cost out of the way, the maintenance would be around $45,033. The third year, $47,285. So there is a slight offsetting cost anyway.
Any other questions? Concerns? So I'm hearing, sounds like there's no objection to moving forward. Sounds like it brings more than what you had.
And we'll bring back whatever we find out from the vendor
Okay, thank you.
for future consideration.
I appreciate everything you did on that. Thank you.
Not a problem. Did you have any other questions on the items I mentioned? Applicant tracking system or the mobile app or the,
I
to
want
get to the
this
Microsoft 365?
about the new voicemail system, and it might just be me, but I really love that we get them emailed and that you can just click on them and get your voicemail messages. I used to do the dial-in approach, but to get an email and then you can click, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, hopefully helpful when folks are out of the office and not necessarily near their phone. Thank you.
Any questions on the mobile app or anything? Good. All right,
And then just moving on, repair and maintenance lines, so some change from last year, but just due to increased cost in those renewal contracts, the maintenance contracts on those items. Travel reimbursement, no change. I think software licensing, it's the top of the next page. That would be our next section that has some new items, some of them related to what was just discussed. So again, I think there's 5 items there that are new and different from last year. So I'll let John explain.
So yet again, these are the ones I was referring to, a few of these. NeoGov would be if we do the HR applicant tracking system, the 21,000, the Cartograph, of course, we just spoke about, the switch side engine, excuse me. What this is a new management tool for our network team to help them manage all the switches. We have, as we grow, we have more and more and more switches, and having to manage those via the interface, where you're just typing, that gets very difficult and confusing and cumbersome and wastes a lot of our time when you talk about man hours. So that's a GUI tool is just a visual tool to help manage that and have it all in one place. And then we have the 6 remote desktop manager license. This will also help our infrastructure team in the back room there to help manage the servers and keep all the stuff straight that they have to keep straight. They're asked to do more and more and more every year, and this will help them do that. And then the last item there is Smartsheet. That's just a project management tool for what would be our project management office, so we can better track all the projects. That's an online, what they call software as a service, where you're just accessing it online, but everyone can access it.
The NeoGov that's replacing our current applicant tracking system,
Yes, sir.
would it be correct to assume that our current applicant tracking system also cost us something? And would there be an offset there somewhere, from what it currently cost us?
Yes, so that's Civic Plus that we use for our applicant tracking. That is going end of life as of September of '24. We don't have a choice but to move in this case. So it would be replaced by this NeoGov system. And this is the same system that the city of Waco uses. We have demoed it. We've demoed actually several HR applicant tracking systems.
So we were paying for the Civic Plus tracking system.
Yes.
So,
And we will pay for that again this year because we need that transition period to move from one to the
yeah,
other.
but that's going to offset this cost somewhat. It'll be,
In FY '25,
yeah, okay,
we'll get there, yes.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Is that all of those?
Any other questions?
I think the next category with differences is that the Tyler Tech hosted line item.
Tyler Tech.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So, excuse me. We talked a bit about this. The time and attendance module that we would like to add to the Tyler Munis platform. So currently we have what's called Time Clocks Plus, and so there would be an offset there as far as something we wouldn't have to pay for going forward. It's much, much less than this. It's not a great offset. I don't have that exact number on me. Do you have that?
I do not.
Okay, we can give that to you. But, so currently we have a lot of folks around the county, some doing paper, some doing this program called Time Clocks Plus. All of that, every other week, every pay period, we have to get that all straight, get it all imported into Tyler Munis to upload and get all the paychecks, of course, and everything that we need to do in the auditor's office. It takes many man-hours, many people. And it's just such a clunky and cumbersome process that we'd like to move to Tyler Munis application to simplify it, make it cheaper. And I really couldn't even begin to tell you what it would save us in man-hours in doing that. We do a lot of corrections every other Monday.
What's it
In
going
a
to
lot of
do?
departments. Sorry, sir.
What is it going to do, John? This timekeeping module?
So it would allow, and we're still in the research phase of this, very beginning, still trying to, we're even, looking at other options as well, but it allows employees to keep track of their time on a digital platform. So whether that be an app, a desktop, key swipes, so that automatically gets all of those, the ins and outs of the day, that's tracked. It gives supervisors and managers the ability to, set schedules and monitor what hours their employees are working. That is what would get imported on every other Monday into our Tyler system. And then that gives us our start our payroll audit on Monday mornings. Right now, the majority of employees are on paper timesheets. So as those come in, they're entered in by someone in each office, of course. That gets imported in, and then, a large part of our process is literally auditing the paper timesheet to what was entered into the system. And so that bypasses that human error that's involved there, just better record keeping. The list goes on and on of the benefits to using a system like that.
I can see some negatives, though. Are you going to have somebody out on the job somewhere 20 miles from the office, have to come back to sign out at lunch? Or
There's a lot of options where you have an app, and you can do even is it the GPS?
It's called geofencing. So you could limit it to they have to be within a certain range of whatever location you choose, or you can let them sign in and out from anywhere, especially like for Road and Bridge, maybe, right?
Bridge can't come back.
Right. If Road and Bridge is out on a job and they go to lunch and then want to get back on that job, they don't have to come back to the Road and Bridge office. yard if they don't have to. But there are many options here, a lot of
So what would they
flavors.
use? And when you say if they don't want to, what would they use?
Have to use their
They could use their
phone?
cell phone to check in and out if we
Personal
want.
cell phone?
I know, we have an issue to check in there, and we don't have to use that. We can or we can't. It's just an option. Realistically, this was meant to solve the biggest problem we have, which is centralizing and converting our current system over to Tyler Munis every day. And also the errors. So our current system called Time Clocks Plus, those who are on it, it rounds to 3 digits. And every so often, that causes a problem because you're rounding down to 2 digits for Tyler Munis. And we get these rounding errors. And that causes the auditor's office to go back and re-audit pretty much everything. Then they come back to us, and sometimes, and this is where risk is involved, the IT department is fixing things after they've been submitted, basically, and audited. So obviously, no one should be touching it after an audit. And so we do have that risk that's involved here, and one of the reasons we would like to go to this platform. As far as using people's personal cell phones, we don't have to do that. That's an option. It would be no different.
What are they gonna use?
We could talk about using tablets that are issued by the county. We could talk about them calling in, and I don't know how they do it now. You might want to educate me on
We
road.
were on a time clock, and we went back to paper, because we
Okay.
did not like the time clock, so I'm not entirely sold on this, to be honest.
Okay.
That's just me.
And the
I'm
other thing is
probably
just,
against them making them use their personal phone to put an app on there that you could call later and say, I need your phone because I need to audit your app. I don't think that's good. I don't like that. I don't like that. Just the optics of that is not.
there's a lot of specifics to work out, but I mean, in the end, being on paper timesheets, like eventually that has to, there has to be some push to something more electronic.
Why?
You lose a lot of audit capabilities. You're working off a piece of paper. It's hard to, it's just harder to track things. But I mean, if that's, it's,
Worst case scenario, worst case scenario, you could stay on the paper for the road and bridge crews that where it makes sense to stay on paper maybe, and move everyone else to electronic. It doesn't stop that from happening.
I think electronic works great when you're in an office and you come in and sign in the morning.
Sure.
You sign out at lunch, you sign back in after lunch, you sign out when you go home. But when you sign in and you're gone the rest of the day, traveling all over a precinct, I see, I don't see the advantages.
On that. So, could they check in the morning, mine 7:30, and do a checkout at 5:30? Does that mess it up? Do you need to have the lunch checked in and out? Because
I mean,
that's
and
when
that's
they're
what
in the
should be
field.
happening in any department anyway. You know, everybody should be keeping track of their time in some way, whether it's on paper or in cards, or you have a clock, or, you know, all those records should be kept, within a department. So yes, I mean, they should be clocking out for lunch, or if they
And
leave for
see,
options.
that's the difficulty, and I guess I'm okay with the trust system, because they are out there, it's hot, hot, hot. So, I'm not trying to see, are they making sure they just take 30 minutes for lunch? I think that's kind of what a check-in does, like you checked out at 12 and you got back at 1. I'm okay if it's fuzzy around the lines, because what I also encourage them to do, because like it's 101, yesterday was 101, is to make sure you're taking breaks too, water breaks, and that you're not out in the heat too much. So I really see what's paramount is to know that they were on time when they came to work, and that they got out at 5:30, and they didn't work over when they're talking about comp time. It gets fuzzy in the middle of the day with road and bridge, because they are taking breaks, because it is hot out there, it is cold out there. And so I'm not so, they better just take a 30-minute lunch. I'm not so hard on that. But does that mess up what you're trying to track
No,
electronically?
it would be tracking things exactly like what's happening now. When we get those timesheets, you know, if it shows they worked 8 hours or 8.5 or 7.5, that would be reflected the same way. It's just a report that's, you know, pulled out of this electronic system. But again, like, you know, a lot of it is just about the administration of payroll and how that information is imported in. We're up to a substantial number of employees compared to where we even were 5 years ago. And so the time and audit involved in those types of things is just, a system like this would make,
Right.
would make internal controls
I can
piece
get
those
you.
up. But there's a lot of, but again, a lot of pieces that we don't have all the answers to yet. Still looking into different options, but we just wanted to have that there if it's something that, you know, we wanted to have in the budget as we move through it, if that's something that y'all would be able to.
And this could work with a regular time clock as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Like
get
for
you
the
the beginning
jail
of the
or
day,
someone else
and
who has
the end of
those
the
now.
day, It gets fuzzy in the middle of the day.
So the cost is fixed and no matter how many users you have, so I guess the question is, if we go with like a blend, you know, you can use paper where it makes sense and use electronic, for convenience and, you know, auditing purposes, you didn't have enough using it, then your cost per user is quite a bit higher, right? So
Yes, it is
guess we
priced.
need to get an indication on how many folks, each precinct. And of course, it's outside precincts too. I'm guessing, so does jail use a system like that or they don't? Okay.
But we like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is it something that y'all consider going to?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Strongly. And app version of it for our patrolmen who have the same issues that y'all have.
Yeah.
The data, from our understanding, isn't actually stored on the cell phone. To your concern, Commissioner Perry, it's cloud-based service, so it's just an input, send, and then.
Well, but where we're talking, you have to understand, we still have some folks that are working with flip phones. All right, I'm just saying, we need to be very conscious of,
But you're gonna have an option.
yeah.
I mean,
well, I'm-
for us, that's pretty much it. I mean, Road and Bridge, that is my
Yeah.
staff,
And,
pretty much.
yeah, and anything, I mean, when we're talking about any other devices, if it gets left in the truck while they're working, it's 160 degrees in that truck. So how long is that device gonna hold up? You know, there's just a lot of things that I think with,
Well, they stop working after certain, so that they are safe. And so, I don't mean to step on you there, but,
well, no,
but what if it's time to go, you know? And it's not, and it's not working. And then you're talking about 65 tablets or something like that. I mean, that's,
Sorry, I was just offering that up as an option. And so is the cell phone. You can stay with paper and we'll just enter them as we do
I
now.
think
So there's
the
no
point's well
requirement.
taken about how
Yeah.
the audit is getting out of hand. It's well taken. It's just how do we, you know, they get in and they all leave and they head out and then they kind of drag in at the end of the day and I'm with Commissioner Miller. Starting time and ending time.
Is there one person that does all of this when all these time sheets come in?
Well, so for each department, there's usually one person, and I know the sheriff's office, we had talked about that, has a dedicated person that that's what they do.
That's all they do.
I know for my department, I'm sorry.
On Monday morning, like this, on Monday, timesheets start rolling in. We have 3 in our office. They audit those timesheets for, there's weeks that it takes longer, but about a day and a half. Then once that's audited, then the payroll process starts. There's lots of payroll steps, of course, in the middle, and then you have an audit of the payroll after the fact. So, so there's just, you know, kind of eliminating some of that that happens in the beginning of the week. It allows us to do more audit procedures after the payroll is initiated. But it also gives us some more leeway. So these things are a lot of time people don't know about, but, you know, like payroll before last, there was an issue. So, you know, when the direct deposit file was sent, sometimes, you know, there's times that those things have to be sent for everything to be sent out on a Friday. And when there's a glitch, whether, you know, be it the bank or the file getting sent or whatever it may be, when that direct deposit timeline doesn't stop for us. And so giving us more time, I think, in these weeks, initiating that payroll and letting us get to our audit faster, there's just benefits there as well.
Does every
But-
department do look at theirs first before they send it, or how is that done?
So, someone in each department is gathering the timesheets, and then they go into a time entry portion of Munis. So they're actually entering that in, and so we get the paper sheets as well as that file that we're looking at, which begins the process.
And the folks who have
Eliminate all
time,
that work, we're gonna eliminate personnel then?
No, there's no way.
no, those folks can do something better.
Well,
Those folks got something better to do
I think
in
you
my
have to
department.
understand the audits. An audit, is an infinite amount of, work that can be done. And so when you're able to actually audit, and so when you're auditing payroll, that's after the fact a lot of times. So it's allowing more work to be done in that week, just be more efficient. But, I mean,
Just to kind of clear this up, I don't have a problem with it, but at this moment, precinct 4 would opt out. But I
Precinct 3 would
understand-
and I think, again, there'll be much more detailed information that we can provide to you later. But I know too, one other option is, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the companies have been saying there's like a set schedule where you can push out. So if it's like, this person's gonna work 8 to 12, 1 to 5 or something, that gets loaded and then that's almost like checked off.
It's,
that someone-
it's preloaded in there so that,
Preloaded and then someone is coming in saying, so options
You
like
have
that.
standard
So we wanna make
workers
sure we
exempt.
So if you're
have all
pouring,
that information.
chip sealing a road, you gotta stop at 12 regardless of where you are.
Yes, what's not more feasible for us.
Right now,
Again,
precinct
couldn't-
1 is not, yeah. I think what you need to do is perhaps poll the departments and offices and see who would like to use it, to be honest with you, at this point.
Okay.
To see if it would warrant the cost.
Okay?
That's my,
Thank you.
that's just me.
Well, I think we heard the same thing down here too, so. Okay. Next.
All right.
Commissioner Miller, do you have anything else on that?
You know, try to have anything else.
Okay. All right, what's next?
So then, I don't know if you want to talk about that increase to Tyler there for management systems, or if you want to.
do we want to hold the talk about jail management and records management till the end, or would you like to?
One-year maintenance agreement, Odyssey, is that what you're talking about?
Okay.
Hold that one, okay.
The sheriff's office is here because they have, it's tied into something they're doing. Is that okay if we come back to that one?
Yes, sir. In other words, leave it to the last.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't mind. And then we have that, the last thing with Tyler is the configuration training module. We still don't have a good quote on that, and it's for training folks on the new modules we're considering and on the existing modules. We felt like over the time and as employees have come and gone, we may not be making the best use of the Tyler Munis system, and we thought it would be good that we had an official training from Tyler to help folks get the most out of the system we have. You know, if we keep considering adding modules, it would be good to know that we're getting the full value out of it. Again,
How many
this is-
modules are, or what I consider upgrades behind are we?
Sorry?
How many upgrades are we behind now?
So we are, you mean as far as the latest version of Tyler? If I'm not mistaken, right now we were 2, and we're just about to upgrade to the next to newest version. We feel in IT typically, we don't want to be on the latest version of everything. We want it to stabilize so that it works well and we don't find the problems for them. But we are right now in the middle of the upgrade to the next to latest version to get a good stable version. That would be necessary to even upgrade to like this time and attendance that we're talking about. But we want, it was, I think we upgraded 8 months ago, I want to say. I don't remember exactly. But yes, we will very soon be on the next to latest version. And that is one thing we are doing now, is keeping up on those to make sure that we're getting, you know, the reasonable updates and features that are available at that. You want to move on?
Yes.
Professional development.
So professional development, so here's where it's technically a renewal, the staff professional development that you see there. I have a staff of 20, excuse me, and I'm asking, as you know, for 2 positions to be added. Currently, we're at 19,000 for FY '23, and this addition, one of the big additions, and this will be actually coming to court in the next regular court session. It's a learning platform called Udemy, or Udemy if you look at it, you may want to pronounce it that way. It provides a lot of tech courses, and we noticed that it also provides some management, leadership, and HR courses with it. So I talked to Anna, and she was amenable to this. She saw value in the courses, so we thought There's a DIR contract out there, that's Department of Information Resources for the state of Texas. A lot of things we do are on contract with them in the IT world. There's a minimum of 21 licenses, and whereas we currently have 18 people in the IT department, we needed to share that with another department to make full value in there. So Anna's 7 folks adds that, and we're looking to get 26 licenses. And this would be the renewal to that added into our current budget for professional development, which includes not only the learning platform, but it includes, going to conferences. We have 2 tech conferences every year typically, and we have a few others that we send people to. That also, so another value in the Udemy course is you can track folks learning just like you would in, a college course or something, or a college, degree program. And so what my plan is there is to use that as professional development for my folks, but also when we talk about yearly evaluations, assigning certain training to each employee in each position so that that's something they have to complete each year, and that's another thing we can check off in the evaluation. It'll help the county, of course, the employee will develop some skills, and then it also gives us something to measure.
I would be interested if you'll track it and see usage of it.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I'm going to make it mandatory for my folks in their yearly evaluations, so it will definitely be tracked. The value there too is that they have access to every course in the whole catalog, no matter, they can do the mandatory ones, and then they can just on their own learn more stuff. And again, Anna and her folks see value in that as well. So, and I could see it, looking at it as in the management leadership realm, we might look at that for, maybe managers in every department or all departments could be invited anyway. So it's a great price that we get through the state contract. So the second one there, the VMUG, that's just a renewal from last year, the same amount, I believe. So then we get down to these 2 that are new at the bottom. The vRealize Cloud University, what that is VMware is the program we use to virtualize our servers in the IT department. And we just need our systems administration team to get some more training on that so we can use it to its fullest ability. And then the last one there, Solid IT, the Fortinet Extreme, that $2,000, that is for firewalls. So our network team manages the firewalls, and this is just getting vendor-specific training on the firewalls we use. And we use that same brand of firewall across the county, so it would be good value for them.
And then the next line, we have it separated just for discussion purposes, but it's in its own line right now, but the Microsoft 365 request is next on the list.
This one, since it's such a big increase, do we want to hold this one to the very end and talk about capital, or would you rather talk about it now?
I think we're up to the capital items next, so if you want to start there.
Hit those, and okay.
Or whichever you want to do first.
So I guess we'll talk about the capital items if commissioners are agreeable.
Yeah.
So first there's the managed storage. So currently we have 3 SAN units or network attached storage units. They're all aging. One is at completely end of life now. One will be end of life in this next fiscal year, and one will be in the next fiscal year after that. So what this would be is replacing those with one, what's called a SAN unit, or a storage area network. It's consolidating the 3 into one, basically. And this would also provide us with better management, additional storage in that unit, because we are starting to reach storage limits, and would also give us what we call a disaster recovery, or DR copy, at our COPS facility, our backup data facility. And then also, the one thing we don't have right now that this would provide is deduplication on our backup copies. Because currently, as we back up to the COBS site, we don't have a way to make sure that we're not backing up the exact same data. In some instances, it's not everywhere. But this would help with that. I know it's a big number, but it's something that it's one of those things in the background that no one cares about, but would benefit the county greatly. The next one, the small electric card, I think that's pretty easy to understand, hopefully. With the little campus of buildings down here, the records building, us, the courts, the annex and all, IT just needs a good way to get around, especially when you consider the construction, but even after. Using an electric cart like the maintenance folks do to get a PC or two here or there, that would be helpful. This cart that we quoted here, the 13,000, that is on a contract. And a state contract, or a cooperative, I mean. That would include a plastic cover for it so that in inclement weather, they could still get somewhere without, you really don't want to carry computers out in wet weather. The next one down, Isilon expansion. So Isilon is our file server. That's, when you copy files to the network, that's where they are. They're staying on this, what we call Isilon, which is just the brand from Dell. We need to expand that. We're at about 60% capacity. That's a right of where you want to start expanding your space and your storage capabilities. This, what you see there, 110,000, that would allow us to have the same 100 terabytes added to the main facility here in our server room and the backup data facility at Cobb's. So obviously, if you're going to back up that data, you're going to need the same amount in the backup facility. The next one down, called VxRail. That is our application server. That's where applications like eDoc live and that sort of thing. So that right now is at 29% capacity. That's a future proofing, if you will, using today's dollars. To have that, again, both at 24 terabytes at the primary data facility here at our data facility and at the backup data facility again at Cobb's. Now the next two are placeholders because we don't have good numbers yet, and the next one is microwave projects. So as we found out with the construction incident a few weeks ago, we don't have great data backup capabilities for functioning if something happens to our primary connections. As you all know, the fiber got ripped up on 5th Street there and disconnected the records building. The microwaves, the idea here is to have a microwave connection on the top of records building and the top of IT, and then to also look at how many buildings we can connect that way to have a backup network, per se. Jail, they always have, I wouldn't say always, but regular internet connection issues getting back to us. And the juvenile facility is a particularly tricky one as well. Again, this would be just a placeholder until we can get you some accurate numbers.
Does the microwave, is that dependable as what we have when it's working?
Yes, so that would just be a point-to-point wireless connection, and that would be used basically in any time the fiber gets cut or anything happens that disrupts it.
Is that line of sight?
Yes, that would be line of sight. So yes, that is difficult down here. We would have to do some work, and I've talked to the maintenance of equipment folks with the sheriff's office because they do our 911 radio systems, and they have all the towers and know where all the equipment is. We're going to start working with them to see what we can work out in that regard with all of our facilities that we can. That's it for the capital items, except for the ones we're going to come back to. This last one here has to do with the sheriff's office again.
Okay.
Did you have any questions on those few items before we move on?
Any questions?
Of course, I'm happy to answer questions anytime later that you have something or you find something. So if that's okay, then I'd say we move back to Microsoft 365 and then talk about the Tyler systems.
Okay.
So Microsoft 365, I know probably all pretty familiar with it, if not by use, by reputation. So right now we have the Mail Daemon server, which is a wonderful 1990s email program. So the Microsoft 365, what would that do for us? So first of all, that would replace it with a fully collaborative system where we can schedule meetings with each other, or we can see each other's calendars when we want to see those. That's all a permissions-based thing. And it would allow us to do what's called multi-factor authentication with our email that we currently don't have a great way of doing. And that will become a requirement when you start talking about cybersecurity insurance and those sort of things. That will get into an issue eventually. That's coming, I've heard FY '24, '25 timeframe. You'll start getting charged higher rates if you don't have multi-factor authentication. As far as what it provides you, the applications that you're all familiar with, Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all those sort of things. As you know, we currently have the Microsoft Office suite here. But currently, those are lifetime licenses we bought. You cannot upgrade those other than just buying a new license. So we have 3 versions right now. We have 2016, 2019, and 2021. So the idea here would be to implement this in a phased approach over 3 years. That lowers the cost then rather than jumping all at once and putting everyone on what's called the Microsoft G3 or Government Platform 3. That's just a level. There's a G1, G3, and G5, and each one just provides a few more features and a few more features. So the idea, the first year would be to move 150 people onto Office 365 and leave 1,250 of the people on the G1 license. So a G1 license, the very basics here, is that provides you with email, the Outlook, and Microsoft Teams for a collaboration platform. And then that also allows you online access to Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and all that. And so the way that would work out is the folks who are moved onto the G3, because the G3 provides you all those Office products, the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, actually installed on your machine just like you have today. So that's only 150 people. That would be mostly department heads, elected officials, and folks that they designate that are heavy users of the systems. The 1,250 people that are left on the G1 license, they would have the email and all the collaboration tools in Microsoft Teams, but they would have the online access to Excel, Word, PowerPoint when you're talking about the 365 version of it. The reason we're leaving people on that version is that they will have the versions of 2019 and 2021, which are still current versions of Office. So we might as well get our value out of those, in other words, that we've already paid for. Instead of paying obviously the G3 is going to be a little bit more price than the G1. And that's why we're doing that. The second year, we would move most of the people that are on 2019 and 2016 and 2019, the rest of those folks that are on those Office versions, move them over, and and these are estimations, but they're pretty close. You know, numbers change all the time with employees. But approximately 1,150 people would then move beyond the G3 platform, and leaving about 250 people on the G1. And then the third year is our final year to get everyone on. The rest of those 250 people would get on to the G3. And the reason we're doing it that way is that 2019 and 2021 versions of Office that we have installed in today will be end of life by then. So we've got our value out of those. We can move on because they're not getting updated. They're not getting supported by Microsoft. Where is it? So the way we figure that, we've got some budgetary quotes for that. And as you see, we've allocated 215, I believe, thousand. Yes, so our hard quote, and again, we're doing this because we're a little scared we might be just undercutting it a bit. That's why we put the number 215,000 in there. The quote we got was $195,756. But we put a bit of a cushion in there because numbers have changed, employees, I think we've had a little more employee hires, and we will have, I'm assuming, more before we get to this. But should that happen, of course, we would go with the actual quote. And there's another number tied to that just above, which is the install figure. When we move back up to the 616-101, which is software licensing, there's 15,000 for the, is that right? Did I mess that up?
You're correct. Switch side engine licenses.
The liftoff.
No,
It's under other services and connectors.
I was just in the wrong place, I apologize. It's in the other services and charges, I apologize. It's a line, oh, you don't have line numbers. It's 15,000 for the actual initial implementation of that. And that's to configure it and actually train our administrators on how to use this. And then it would be a train-the-trainer situation, and then we would then go about training the users to make sure that everyone is up to date on that. So it would increase our cybersecurity footprint and also get us up on the current software. And again, allow us to, I think you're all familiar with about 5 or 10 phone calls or 15 emails trying to schedule a meeting, and everyone finally, well, your admins are, sorry, it's probably not you directly. But this would save a lot of man-hours, in my opinion, and
I'll
make
just give
things a
you
lot
an
easier.
example of something that I dislike about Damien is when I try to forward a meeting
Yes,
to somebody,
cannot.
it doesn't allow it.
And that's, again, a limitation of
And
the,
that, I mean, that's a, so it ends up, you end up making, you holler, hey, and, so you end up with two meetings,
Yes.
in your calendar, you know, it's just, that, to me, that's just really inefficient.
yes, I know people have missed meetings, they've attended meetings that didn't exist because
You're
of this
going
issue.
where? I didn't know about that.
So making the county look a little more professional is probably, there's no measure to that, but that'll help. The one thing I did want to note here is, so that was year one, the 215,000 that we've cut out to see, make sure that happens. Year two, once we get the other 1,150 folks on there, that comes up to 376,716. And I can give this to everyone if you don't have it, sorry.
So that's in addition, that amount?
Well,
Next
that's
year?
year two, right? That's a yearly maintenance fee, sorry. That's the yearly maintenance fee.
Okay.
And then the year three, once we have everyone on that, and if we're at the 1,400 users we expect, that would be 421,956. That's a projection for 3 years, but that is an ongoing yearly maintenance fee.
And I'm assuming we don't pay anything.
No. No, nothing like that now, but we don't have a collaboration tool right now.
Right.
So questions? The city of Waco uses Microsoft 365. I'm sure you probably know of plenty of people that use Microsoft 365.
Well, I think we saw during the interview process for the IT director that most organizations are using Microsoft 365.
Yes, and unfortunately, or fortunately, we're too big. So the Texas Association of Counties does this for the smaller counties. They manage this whole thing. However, they limit it to, I believe it's 50 users, I want to say, or maybe 500 users, I believe, sorry. 500 users is their limit. If you're above that, you have to go on your own.
Go on our own. Well, I like your approach here of the phase in and getting our money out of the 19 and the 21 versions. So I think that's.
Yes, and it's far cheaper than, we've gotten several quotes on this over a couple of years. This is by far the I hate to use the word cheap, most cost-efficient way to go. Because the company we got this quote through does it in such a way that we can use just the exchange licenses and get that value out of our existing office. But the other companies would not.
And one thing,
Yes.
if we do continue to use the company Liftoff, they will waive the $15,000 setup.
Yes, they have talked about if it happens to be this company. So just, I didn't say this, but if this is approved, we would put out an RFP to get accurate quotes and, because we want the whole package. We want the software, we want the installation, configuration, and training. Sorry, that was Tim, our network project manager, who has been running this process for the IT department. Did anyone have any other questions on that particular item?
Any other questions?
No, sir. Then I would call up David Ives, I believe, would be the best person to speak on this from the sheriff's office.
How are y'all? So we have we've been collaborating with IT on trying to get a placeholder on a budget for talking about an RMS and a JMS system. Current system that we have is not a long-term solution for the county anymore.
So record management system and.
And jail management
Jail
system.
management system.
Correct, yes, sir. We have some fatal errors with some of our data. We have, as you mentioned earlier, Commissioner Jones, duplication of duty. There could not be more duplication of duty than what is going on right now.
Well, I hope that adding another system is not gonna,
So part of the problem, Commissioner,
now we're up
is,
to 3.
well, we have is, in our particular office, we've got a JMS, not an RMS. It is not an RMS, but it is just a record system, not a management system at all. And then we have all these little, all other à la carte parts, right? We have no inventory tracking system within it, so we have to utilize a third-party software. We have no mugshot capability within it to publish, so we have to use DataWorks Plus. We have no way to scan our records for archives, so now we're having to use another third-party system. We have no way to do asset tracking or fleet management. There's 2 more systems. So you see how this gets really out of control really quick for us to manage. So now we have 13 independent systems that we're utilizing to try and manage what is the business that we run, criminal cases, jail management, and everything that goes along with that. We're trying to have, like you said, adding another system, we're trying to consolidate that into a single unitary system that can manage all of these things for us. It would take us, even from coordinating with John's people at IT, probably another 2 weeks just to determine the amount of applications it would actually make unnecessary for us to have just a single JMS, RMS solution for the sheriff's office. When y'all were talking about just a minute ago, something to track your road and bridge work orders, this will do that for us and then some, right? So it will allow us to track. We won't have to have an independent program for like building maintenance, for scheduling maintenance. We can do our work orders in the system. They are verified, checked up. The system will send you notifications. Hey, you need to check on this. It hadn't been done in a week, or whatever criteria we set. It is a good check and balance. Plus, it is an AWS, if I'm not mistaken, right? John? Was it Azure or
SaaS,
AWS?
yes.
Yeah, so
I'm not sure which, but it's a software as a service or an online
it's a
platform.
cloud-based service. So now you're taking the on-prem overhead costs of IT having equipment that has to be maintained, powered, upgraded, repaired, data validated when they're talking about the time sheet stuff with Munis doing it manually, about how people are having to manually go through and verify, duplication of duty. It will eliminate a ton of that because the investment from IT currently is not just an investment of hardware sitting in a space. Their employees are currently engaging in a tremendous amount of labor to keep this current system rolling forward for us and giving us the information that we need to get out of it to provide answers to the public, to the people who ultimately finance our business. And that is not something that is going to be tenable long-term for us. And John can talk more about like the database side or issues like that, but this is just the beginning of a discussion for what is an RMS, case management, JMS for jail management. And this kind of feeds back to a question that Commissioner Smith had asked us in regards to trying to determine, percentages of agencies that are bringing people into our jail just to look at like workload overall. We can't answer that question, or we can, but it's going to require like custom programming to figure out. And that is the question or the problem with every question we get asked almost, other than how many people are in jail, is it's going to require some custom programming. And having a modern system, when you look at the sheriff's office and county as a whole, I know y'all like to look at how we compare to other counties. If we look at the total jail population that we currently have, which is the largest side of our business, hands down, we are the 7th largest jail by jail population in the state of Texas. And if you took the feds out, we are the 8th largest jail in the state of Texas. So it has very little impact on our ranking overall for size. So we are not running a small facility. We are not a rinky-dink county, so to speak. We're a very large county. in the inmate population that we house and the aggressiveness of the law enforcement within this county. And having the proper tools to manage things when it comes to something that's a big topic for y'all and for us, mental health consumers, those costs to the public, what services are effective. We have no tools to track these things accurately. And this would provide us with great mechanisms to be able to track those, give feedback on how these services are working, what they're providing, whether they're jail programs, whether they're inmate-related education programs, whatever they may be. So there's many, many benefits, and this is the initial discussion of what that is going to look like. There's some other issues from the database side, but John can touch on what that gives us versus just functionality and elimination of duplication of duty in additional systems.
And the way we structured this, we've had some talks over the few months here about what we needed to do. We've gotten a few demos and such. The Sheriff's Department was planning to put the records management part of that in their budget, and then I was planning to put the jail management part of that in the IT budget. We can work that any way we like. That's not a set thing. It's just something we thought would be helpful for everyone. Did anyone have a specific question at this point about it?
I want to go back to something that you mentioned early on. You said that you could see where it might help Road and Bridge.
Sure. So overall, the integration of a system, and I'll throw a company name, but the company name is irrelevant to some degree, right? It's whatever is going to provide the best service overall for not just the sheriff's office, but the integration with the county, right? So you look at these softwares that are like Odyssey. If you go look at Hayes County, you look at San Antonio, these counties that have gone to from the cradle to the grave system. Like, y'all don't have a different system than them, and we have a different system than them, and the constables have a different system than us, and then they got to make them all talk, and everything gets screwed up, and nothing works right. So a lot of cities are now going and opting to go to these from the beginning to the end systems. And for enforcement, that includes things from literally the initial traffic stop to final disposition in the court. And what that helps in regards to not specifically y'all, although they do make software that integrates where y'all's work order scheduling will automatically go to the auditor if the auditor needs to review things. There's no more people touching stuff and duplicating and manually entering things every single time. It cuts down on those labor costs, and for us, those labor costs are huge because you have to realize as the originator of the record, we produce that record manually, and then that record is transmitted to the court, the DA, all these other offices that are doing manual entry on this information time after time after time. And then every time they have an update, it comes back to us to do manual entry. Then it goes back to them to do manual entry. And it's just this nonstop ping pong ball of manual entry, which injects an incredible amount of human error when you have to have the same person or different people typing the same thing 7, 8 times. So having a digital system that'll pull this information sharing from the jail to the SO, to the DA's office, to the courts, will cut down on a ton of errors and a ton of just labor that's involved in the manual entry, just the rudimentary work that is done every single day. So we will eventually get where we'll talk about cost for the system, and where I can allocate a certain amount of other systems it will eat up. What I can't necessarily equate to you is what it would save in just personnel time, because it's not just our office that's affected by the inefficiency of duplication of duty and manual data entry, and the errors and finding the errors and then repairing those errors as well. It's a huge amount of time. And when y'all were talking, just for instance, about timesheets earlier, we have a part-time employee who enters, 500 plus timesheets every single pay period, and digital time system for us will, cut that labor cost in half for us. That's not a small thing. And then the errors and the corrections and the signatures and all that have to go into it. So just having something that provides us with a good database, not these 13 different a la carte systems, and none of them talk to each other.
Well, kind of what I was getting at is if it can do some of the things Cartograph does that our administrative assistants find worthy, maybe that's something that we could look at. And instead of going with Cartograph, maybe we have an opportunity to piggyback that system. But I would definitely want the administrative assistants to look at it first. 'Cause
I completely And I'm
This is
just,
Tyler, right?
correct. Yes, sir.
So
Odyssey.
we know what Tyler, I mean, we know the modules. Do we know the modules in Tyler?
It's a different sauce.
So there are three different platforms. So they have the public, what's called public safety platform. I may not get the numbers exactly correct, but that's where the records management system comes in. They also have the Odyssey platform, which you're probably familiar with. That has the jail management portion in it. Also has the courts management and all that sort of thing, but right now we're just talking about the jail management portion. And then there's the Munis platform, which is what they use for administration. Basically three platforms, but they all talk to each other and share data and that sort of thing. So they're all one back-end system, if you will.
Designed to work, and you can see implementations of entire county and city governments that run on that system. In Bear County is an implementation. Hayes County has been implemented with Odyssey and New World, their platforms, for several years.
So you said that, basically, David, you said maybe 13 different platforms y'all are running right now to generate information or input.
To run our business.
Are these 13, or ever how many, do we pay a yearly maintenance fee for those?
Absolutely.
So there's some offset
Yes.
if we eliminate those?
Correct.
Does anybody know that amount or ballpark figure?
We have a ballpark figure, and you're talking about $250,000 for all these different softwares.
Yes.
To eliminate 13 of them
Yes, sir.
versus what?
That's the elephant.
So.
Get to that.
It's not quite the offset, it's just.
So for the jail management system, they didn't have time to get us a very accurate quote, but what they gave us was a ballpark. And the very high end of that is $677,703 as a one-time initial purchase price. That would also, wherever it is, $175,000 as the, again, high end. That would be the yearly maintenance cost
175 would be yearly.
for the jail management system.
Okay.
Now,
So y'all don't have this on there, right?
sorry? Yes, yes, that's on there, actually. The jail
Got the
management.
175 for the yearly maintenance.
If you go down to,
I don't see any 600,000. Well, there's a
Yeah, it's
capital,
got-
no, that's not it.
There's just $1 under capital outlay for the
Oh, okay.
initial.
Oh, okay, Tyler,
oh, is
jail
there?
management.
Sorry, I thought it was in there. Sorry about that. But certainly, we'll pass you the quotes we have, and you can see that for yourselves. And then for the records management side,
Where's that?
that one's in the sheriff's office, or would be. Sorry, I should let you speak to that, David, because you have other ideas for how to fund that one.
Well, so ultimately, this RMS is whatever we want to make it. So we currently don't run our dispatch, and their system is set up and designed to run directly from dispatch to CAD, onward and so forth. There will be a time when the court is going to need to seriously consider the option of running our own dispatch center. There will be a contract for renewal coming through in this budget for Waco PD to maintain the centralized dispatch contract, and those prices need to be looked at very carefully. There is a time where that pricing will become not completely, but will start to look untenable for the county to just hire staff to engage in that duty. What we are being provided by the city of Waco and what we are paying for are a necessary function of the sheriff's office right now, but that's just, the court needs to consider that when they see that contract roll through. If we did run our own dispatch, because we can't control the city of Waco, they currently use Tiburon as their CAD. They're going to have to move to something else. Tiburon's no longer supported. They'll make a decision to move something else. But the RMS system starts with the CAD. Now, we can opt out of the CAD and just start from like the RMS version of it, which we have done in this quote. But if it runs the CAD, that information literally comes from the dispatch center, is originally entered by the dispatcher. The officer pulls it into their system. The detective pulls it into their system. There's no more manual entry from person to person into the DA's office is manually pulled in and so forth. So you have the original record that is still original as it was typed by the reporting officer or dispatcher. So you don't have this duplication of information, the propensity for fat fingering and typo errors on entry. It's just a much more comprehensive system, but that's a future deal, just trying to get that cradle to the grave system for us. Or if other offices choose to adopt it, whether it's the clerk, the DA, courts, whatever it may be, there are certainly options for adoption in that same system for automatic integration of it. And I know that things that other department heads have talked about integration-wise, like such as the PSRS system, this company's already developed that integration. That's already been done. So some of that stuff, and in regards to like eBond and eFile, those things are already integrated completely into the system, start to finish. So there's a lot of collaborative integration that certainly helps with the county business overall, Commissioner.
But we wouldn't do that unless we were moving away from Waco dispatching, is what you're saying?
Only on the CAD side. The CAD side is the piece of the puzzle that we cannot go to, right?
Right.
Because of the centralized dispatch contract, and that is, I don't know enough about it right now to say we should absolutely do our own dispatch or we should continue with the centralized dispatch. The centralized dispatch is the easy answer now. It's that comfortable shoe that fits. It may be wore out, but it fits. And we just don't have enough information for the other option to make an educated, informational session on it.
So staying away from that end for now, what are we talking about on the record management then, John?
So for the jail management side,
We've already talked about that.
right, sorry.
That's
I think David's actually better positioned to
So
talk about
the
that.
records management then would start with the initial report, right? So initial report, what it offers us as well, case management. So and we have our CID captain and chief over there. As far as managing cases, we currently have 4,686 active cases in the sheriff's office. Those are without disposition, no arrest, no warrant, no unfounded status. That's 4,800 cases that are active. And that is not a small amount of cases or information to manage. And having a system that provides no feedback, little data, and extremely hard access to get the information that we have put into it back out. Plus we have tie-ins to evidence systems. So when you have these cases and the DA says, hey, we need everything for this case, it is an ineffective and inefficient system is what partially slows down the judicial process of moving through as well. So when you have the DA say, we need everything for this case so we can move on, and we have to check 5 different systems every time we do it to make sure we're sending everything, and there hasn't been an update in 5 different systems, it is an arduous task. And of course, it's very inefficient to do it in that manner. And things are going to get missed because there's going to be human error injected into trying to manage 5 systems to move 1,400 inmates and 4,800 cases through the judicial process.
Another question?
I haven't seen a price tag.
That's what we're gonna get to.
What is the city of Waco? What are they using?
They use Tyler for their financial side still, don't they? And I don't know, for CAD they use Tiburon. Do they use Odyssey or New World for their city management, Francis?
Not that I know of, but I'm not sure.
I don't know what they utilize, but
They've got what do they use for their case management at the police department?
So they use the Tiburon. Tiburon is Tiburon's CAD, Tiburon's RMS, whatever is their system that they utilize.
Okay.
Is my understanding, Jason? Yes. But Tiburon is a product that is no longer receiving support. There's some new versions supposed to come out. They're going to have to make a change. Like they cannot stay on Tiburon for X number more years. There's going to be a time in which they have to make the transition shortly to something else as well.
And David did make the point, but I'll emphasize it. We are still learning a bit about this. We don't have every piece of information we'd like to have at this point. It just, we're at budget, so we thought we'd at least get a placeholder in here and talk about this and come back with more information as we get it.
It is certainly going to be a major expense, and we have some options, of course, to discuss with the court about implementation to help absorb some of those costs through the sheriff's office budget in a way. The yearly recurring maintenance fees they're not gonna be cheap at the end of the day. It's a big business, and we're gonna have the court's financial support if they choose to do so for that GovCloud service for the storage of our data, to free up IT's time. And it frees up IT's time more in just that, because the programming that's currently going on, he's got a couple of employees that engage in programming for a software that we're currently paying maintenance fees for to get information out of it, and that is pretty much their jobs at the end of the day. So getting support for a good system might help benefit his department as well in some way, just time frame wise, of stop eating their time up. But there's not going to be a small cost associated with the SaaS fees, the software as a service. That is inclusive of the cloud storage as well. It's all kind of a one thing, so to speak. And that service is going to be not cheap. And that would be the part that we would certainly be asking the county to cover year over year.
So anticipation of Commissioner Smith's question, so what do we not spend that we can apply towards that? Am I right, Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
So the answer to that is,
And I'm talking about the maintenance, excuse me for interrupting, the
$250
ongoing,
million, right?
ongoing.
oh, you're talking about the ongoing maintenance for the current
Yeah,
softwares?
yeah, after we get, yeah.
Yeah, you're
Not the
talking about
initial.
well over $200,000 for all the different softwares, whether it's Dictaphone, DataWorks Plus, Tracker, LLC, Evidence.com, all these other softwares that we
And
have to pay for.
That $250,000 would offset some of that
It surely,
humongous yearly cost.
it surely would, but I don't want to give the court the impression that there's gonna be like a net savings
A
on.
wash or anything, no, I don't.
Right, I don't wanna
Haven't
do
been
that.
that lucky yet.
There could be a net savings in personnel time across the county, but that's of a indirect cost or maybe less realized cost for the court. Because if you save 40 hours a month worth of time for us, the DAs in the court's office, it's.
Well, efficiency has value in itself.
Sure. That's harder to equate. We can do it for our department, but up the line, we have a hard time equating that to a dollar.
So some of the information that you're still trying to gather is needed before you could say what the total cost of this deal is year one and on.
Correct.
Is that right? So,
Yes, sir.
go ahead. Well, so,
Is there a ballpark?
I can give you a ballpark.
I mean, the first one, ballpark was what, 600?
Well, that's the absolute,
Initial.
well, that's the absolute most,
That's about.
just so we were clear there. I wanted to give you a good understanding that it would be under that number.
Let's get a city, yeah, what's bigger than a ballpark? Go on.
Just the infield.
Yeah, they've given us a delta, right? Because they haven't had enough time to evaluate the size, scope of our business data, all that. That's gonna take them some time. And in the meantime, they've said, here's what it can be on the very bottom, and here's what it can be on the very top. And that delta is 20%. Which is pretty standard for a
Yeah.
ballpark or quote, so to speak.
At least $500,000, right?
Correct? I'm sorry?
At least 500,000.
Oh, yes, sir.
and what else on
So-
top of that?
That was the top end or bottom end?
So for the RMS, the service that you're looking for RMS, which is Sheriff's Office side, software and license fee, everything out the door, year one, $682,000. And that is the high end of it. It could be 20% or possibly even slightly more less than that. That includes the implementation, the data conversion, There's also some fees associated with the jail as far as like digitizing a bunch of paper records that exist so we can get rid of a lot of paper, which has always been a goal that we've had. We've had budget requests in the past for digitizing records. That's just never really come through, and this seems like the most relevant time, should the court choose to allow us to go down this path, to digitize those records in that conversion process. Then when you go over to the JMS side of things, the JMS side, like John said, the SAS fee is between $349,000 and $419,000 per year. The one-time integration is between $499 and $650, and the travel and training expenses for them to like come down, set it up, train people to use the software and all that is between $23,000 and $27,000.
So
That's
all
a
that,
one-time.
so all that added up, what's,
All that added up on the very high end.
1.3.
Yes, sir.
okay. So, and then there's the ongoing costs that you've got a little bit better maybe handle on, but probably
Yes,
still
sir.
need some. So I know when the sheriff's department's looking at, buying things that are better or up, better equipment or anything else, the forfeiture fund is access for that, and I know they've mentioned about that in previous discussions. What can y'all do?
So we're,
in your,
our initial, as up for discussion, of course, because that's what we're here for.
yes, sir.
Our initial thought was to eat up the implementation costs with forfeiture money because it is an incredible necessity for our agency, both sides of our agency, of
And
our
that's-
business.
And that's how much,
So those initial costs, the one time would be the $499 and to $650 for the jail for implementation, and then the implementation $680 to $480. And then the year-over-year maintenance costs, which start, I still need more information before I make a quote.
okay, good.
But the implementation of something like this overall can be anticipated to take between a year and 18 months. Like, it's not a short
Not gonna be
process.
overnight, no.
Yeah.
It'll take a long.
To convert all that historical data, make sure it's accurate.
And you're telling me y'all could cover the implementation cost and then would look to us for an ongoing
Correct.
maintenance?
My
the
question to
SAAs.
that is, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not as if you guys are the only department that's gonna benefit from this.
We are not. That is a guarantee.
So if it's something that looks like the DA says, heck yeah, we're in, and you have another user that says we're in, is it not appropriate to have them budget some of that?
Do they have discretionary funding also
That's
outside of us?
my point. If they've got discretionary funding
The
that
DA
comes
does.
outside, I'm okay with that, but if it's coming back into here, I'd want to see the forfeiture fund covering it.
I just
The
think,
only, the only other department, well, there's a small constable pocket, but the DA has forfeiture funds, of course. But other than that.
Separate from this.
The money that most of those other departments is, like special revenue funds, like the JPs, the district clerk, county clerk. Those are all funds that y'all have control over. And so y'all have the ability to use those.
We have
funds.
control over, but they come from another source other than the ad valorem side. Is that right?
Right.
So I'm trying,
Where's the source of that funding? You're talking about those other small departments?
those
like
are
JP?
all pieces of court costs.
Are those assessments?
Criminal and civil.
Against-
They're not ad valorem.
They're not ad valorem?
No, no, but they have to be spent for a specific purpose.
Commissioner, that piece I'm good with.
yeah, it just
Have the
seems like
JP
this is an
technology.
answer to a lot of different departments' headaches and nightmares, and so if it's something that everybody feels that we can use and be a benefit, I think everybody should participate.
And plus, when y'all had other needs, especially when they come under the emergency deal, we've stepped up. So if your forfeiture fund gets low, that doesn't mean you're out of business.
Certainly. We always appreciate that consideration from the court. And really kind of what drives it home for me, Commissioner, is I hear y'all talking with John about that cartograph. And I'm like, that sounds like us, right? It's just another à la carte system in a sea of à la carte systems to try and manage our business. And that's not me, of course, denigrating anyone, just trying to get to a single system because the business has gotten too large for us to manage with 13 different management softwares.
Can't imagine 13.
So can you get us, or John, or somebody, a list of all the end users that are gonna benefit from this?
I can get that together. Well, it might not be, you know, in the next few weeks,
I don't know, I
week or so,
understand.
but we can
I'm
get
just
that.
trying to figure out if it's gonna be a benefit to the DA too, and he's on board, thinks it's great, he's got a forfeiture fund as well. And I'm just trying to figure out a way that you guys aren't gonna be burdened with the entire.
Every office that integrates will experience a direct benefit to having a single system that communicates from inception to disposition. And I know that John had had some discussion with the courts as well, and they are aware of it. They've seen it at conferences. It is a very well-received product overall. Of course, they can speak for their specific intentions themselves.
And just even some things that some people don't think about, like our office, being able to pull reports for inmate trust, cash bonds, general operating collections, just
Asset
through,
inventory.
just through the sheriff's office. That would be
All done manually now.
very,
It is.
You have to get a manual list, manually check off thousands and thousands of things, and then give it back to them, and they have to manually key it back in, versus having some integration. So even the auditor benefits from us having this type of integration.
Welcome to the discussion.
So, and Dustin pointed this out to me too, just remember, we still have about 5 other contracts with EDOC that will still be here, so it doesn't replace we still have cost out there. It's not eliminated, just so everybody understands that.
And I'm just speaking when I talk about costs, like our particular invoices that we pay costs off for them.
Dustin, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's right. So we had, and John can correct me, we have the, I guess, the district clerk piece, the justice of the peace piece, the sheriff's office piece. I think there's 5 total that we have. So this would be
County
the
clerk and
front
DA.
in the DA,
Yes.
yeah, and this is the front end of that system. And, you know, we kind of built it backwards when we started this process 10 years ago or so, where the DA's module was built first. But just that reminder to the court that there are those 5 pieces, those 5 components. And so just, you know, one consideration is if the SO does make this move, you know, how does that affect those that stand alone, that it all does have to tie in together. But if those other components don't move to a Tyler or to whatever the SO goes, is that data exchange, is it still possible? And I know
That's
it
my
is, but
question.
how does that look like? How does it integrate?
How
So-
does it integrate with the courts?
So
And the district clerk?
with the EDOC software overall, a custom integration would have to be made because Tyler does not integrate, and this is included in the price, the integration with the current other systems as they flow through. Doesn't integrate with them as a software. They're not in the same scope of business that Tyler is in. But they do integrate with your large PSRS, e-file, e-bond, all that, all the major like things that large cities operate with and integrate with, they are already pre-integrated in. Any individual integration that they have to build via some other office coming into the ecosystem is free if the integration already exists. So if it's a major like integrating service like e-bond, e-file, I know there's been some discussion about the electronic bonding system. They're already integrated. There's no cost to go to the e-bond system. It's already integrated with their system. It'll auto interface with it. But if you have something like EDOC or something like our Tracker Products LLC, which would be going away, there would be a custom integration for these little small a la carte things. But our pricing is going to be everything we need to get up and running and back flowing into the county system from where we're currently flowing, as though no one else made the transition.
So what are the odds you've been using the word cradle to grave? And that is a possibility with this software.
It is.
So the jail management system, like I said, is part of the Odyssey platform. That's where the rest of our county would come in. If, they don't have to join it, but should they want to, they have pieces for the
district clerk, DA, courts, all the district courts, county courts. I mean, they all have pieces for that could fit in there. But the jail management system can stand alone if it needs to. For instance, the e-jury part of that, which is also on the Odyssey platform, can stand alone if we need it to. And one other note I would make about integrations, you mentioned custom integration, which is, as I said, included in the whole install and config price. Currently, as Dustin mentioned, there are 5 EDOC systems. That's how they work now. They basically have a custom integration to each other. We changed that from EDOC to EDOC to Tyler or whatever product to EDOC. Yes, it takes work, obviously. Takes time, as we've pointed out, a year to 18 months to get this done.
Do they provide the support, though, that would be able to eliminate any of those 5 programs?
Tyler? Yes, so as we go, for instance, the sheriff's office would disappear. In that case, that's part of the $250,000 that we'd be saving. And then if indeed the rest, for district clerk or DA and these other folks would want to move on to the Tyler system, and that's, again, a discussion to be had, yes, you could, each time you would be removing the EDOC or whatever pieces. There are probably other pieces I know with each one of those. There are a similar, not maybe that many, but there are similar other little standalone programs that help them out in different ways. But we have the platform in place is what I was trying to get at there. We have the platform in place, so we're plugging in almost modules to it, should we want to move there.
Other questions, comments? Okay.
I did have one other thing, Judge. Sorry, I skipped over the IT assessments.
Okay.
Got excited to get to that. Sorry. Thank you, David.
I'm sorry to show up and bring all some.
Thanks, Cap.
So the IT assessments, I watched the budget sessions from last year. They're always some sort of contentious issue about how we go about them. We do have, I just wanted to reassure everyone here, we do have a standard process in IT. It's usually based on years of service of the product. So typically what we've done is we've purchased, just give you a little background, I hope you don't mind. We purchased a PC with usually a 3-year warranty with it. Then we go in and have one more year past the warranty where we take our chances and replace what we need to when we have to save money, of course. And then the 5th year, that gets assessed for replacement. So we're getting 5 years typically out of a PC that we buy a 3-year warranty on. For this new session, what we would like to do is move to a 5-year warranty and get 7 years out of the PCs. We know there's been a lot of talk about how much life can we get out of a PC. So what we decided was it would be better. So these numbers, what you will see or what you are seeing in the IT assessments does include that already, the 5-year with again, 2 years extra on that before it's actually replaced. And I think it was Commissioner Smith that brought that up, that we'd like to get a little more life out of them. So hopefully that will help you out in that regard. Also, what we've done is we've quoted the basic PCs we've quoted here are PCs with Wi-Fi included as well as the Ethernet connection. What this would help us do is have a backup method of communication should our wired communications fail. We could use the Wi-Fi units in each building. And as part of the budget that you've already seen, actually is expanding that Wi-Fi network for the secure Wi-Fi, that is, for the employees, not for the public. And one other note I would make about the current process. So the IT assessments, one of the reasons that dropped so much from last year was the Sheriff's Office MDTs, the tough books that you saw in there. That was a very large amount, so obviously that's less. And we had less overall that were up for assessment this year. As you will also see in there, of that $248,021, $226,925 were IT recommended. In other words, certain age or failing, or it needs to be replaced as they're currently using an IT loaner, because we have a certain amount of loaners we can loan out when the machine dies, but when it comes to assessment time, we need to replace the machine. Excuse me. And then $21,096 were department requested. So we took a different approach this year, what we called a soft assessment. So we sent out to each department what we thought their changes should be, and then they were allowed to
put in what they thought they needed if there was some sort of addition or replacement they needed. And then those departments that made that request, we went back to them, talked to them and worked it out and looked at their system, see what they were requesting. And then we made an assessment based on whether or not, sort of like Anna does with HR, we do a recommended or not recommended list. And that's in the IT assessments. I assume they have that, Francis?
Yes, so that's in the packet. It's on the drive as well, but in the packet, yes, it's the blue chart, so.
So you will see out there that there's either IT recommended or not. And then the notes associated with that. The notes are in there as well, right?
Yeah, it's in the larger spreadsheet.
Okay.
That's on the drive.
Sorry, it's in the detail tab, sorry. But we did make notes as to whether or not, well, notes about why we recommended, I would say that.
So there's three columns here. There's department requested, IT assessment, and grand total. And you're saying that where there are numbers plugged in under department requested, IT went back and assessed whether or not that request was a need.
Whether or not we
And-
recommended
And
it.
you recommended. If the
It's hard to
number's
say
there,
a need, but whether we felt it was a,
yeah, okay, so if the number's there, you recommend, that you
Correct.
recommended, okay. Because, you know, that's one of the things we talked about, and I appreciate your approach to that, John. One of the things that you and I talked about early on was needs versus Christmas wish list, so. And I appreciate you going back and squeezing that.
yes, and there were a few that were taken or lined out, what we call lined out. We left them in, but we lined them out and didn't include those. And those are things where we either could find a machine to replace it that didn't necessarily need to be bought as a new machine, or if they had a need that we could satisfy some other way, other than buying a new machine. Or a new piece of equipment, whichever it is.
I'm speaking only for myself, I don't have a problem with the idea, with the.
And that page that I think some of you have open, so there's four boxes there, and so it just summarizes it in different ways by what funds could be utilized. We'll get to special revenue funds later, and we can move pieces if you decide to. There's one that divides hardware and software, one by department, and then one by type of item, whether it be a laptop or desktop or accessory. So if you have any questions about any numbers that stand out to you on those charts.
I actually have a couple of notes there as well. Last year, a lot of the assessments were made with a buffer in there for the increased cost. We found that that didn't get really realized, and we're seeing that because we've already made all of the purchase for FY '23 now, and we're seeing that we have an overage there that we can apply if the court would like it to be handled that way, that we can apply to this year's request. So we think we can maybe 70–80% of this maybe take care of it with current year funds, if that's the way the court would like to do it.
Yes, as long as we receive the items, of course, by
Yes.
September 30th, it can be expensed in this current year.
We've done that in the past.
And so as we work towards the next couple months, John's office can keep us informed, and then we'll just keep whittling away at this number.
Yeah, I think we can whittle this number down quite a bit. And also, the numbers here that you're seeing are actual quotes this year. We got the message that you would like to see the actual numbers rather than a projection of what we thought it would be. So this, you know, you could see some creep here if the numbers go up by the time we purchase next year. But we'll come back to court if and when that happens.
Any more questions?
And I think we've covered everything that was on the request. While John is here, I know we talked about personnel yesterday. Was there anything else that y'all needed him to clarify or anything on his position request? I just thought, try to get it all.
Kind of felt like I dodged a go-kart and got run over by a Mack truck, but other than that, I'm all right.
I don't know if I can answer that. Is that a question for me?
No, I wasn't.
And,
Is there no change? So
Sorry.
let's see, Commissioner Perry wasn't here yesterday, but I think everybody else was on the personnel request.
Two positions?
Yeah, was there any other questions
Was
about
it
that?
just two, John?
I didn't hear.
Yeah, so there are, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Apologies. Commissioner, there are two requests It's really related to the project management office. So there's a senior project manager that I'm requesting and a audiovisual technician. Audiovisual technician mainly for not only the doing court sessions like this, but also providing court technology, meeting room technology, online meeting technology. We just found that need just grows and grows and grows. When you talk about the way things are growing with the county and as a whole. Also, with a senior project manager, we see that as a person running the project management office, a very experienced individual, someone who's done this quite a while, who has a certification in project management, which is called a project management professional.
Okay.
The only other addition, I would call it, or increase, if you will, is we're looking to reclassify the systems analyst position that we currently have.
Right.
That position, we haven't been able to fill it. I don't know how long it's been open, but quite a while. We can't fill that position. And it's something that makes more sense to me to have as a systems administrator. And that person, while we have 2 other systems administrators, they would fit in with that group to be 3 systems administrators. They would share that burden overall that I keep talking about and why we had a few of the budget requests that you've seen for management tools. But they would also specifically, in this case, have Microsoft knowledge should we be granted the request to go to Microsoft 365. Because obviously that's a new tool for us. It'd be new skills needed beyond the initial configuration, the whole management of it all. So those are needs, and that moved, I don't have it right in front of me, it moved, increased the salary from $6,838. It's not a huge move, but it does increase the salary there. All the other changes you're seeing are title changes only, and the bottom change there was, we didn't request that. That's when HR went and did a reevaluation as I'm reorganizing the department.
Change the names?
Yeah, most of them are name changes, just to reflect what the person actually does. It doesn't change anything else about the position.
That's industry standard.
Just want to be accurately represented.
All right, and I didn't hear any pushback yesterday, and any problems with that? You know, just a consensus, it seems to be like an appropriate request. That was kind of what I thought I heard yesterday or saw. Okay?
Is that it?
Okay.
I would thank you all for your time. Sorry if I put you to sleep. I've enjoyed the first budget process, and I've learned a lot over the last couple of days. And I'm sure I will keep learning.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Time-wise, do you have a time you'd like to?
Yeah, probably another 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay. So, let me just kind of recap where we are. So we've made changes here and there since Thursday. We haven't got a lot of time to come back to our summary and look at the tax rate and things like that. But on Friday, my plan is that we'll have TJ with us that morning, and so we're going to go through permanent improvement projects and his budget, maintenance of buildings.
Okay.
We also will then look at some road and bridge topics. So one of those being the countywide road and bridge department. There's some line items in there that are larger where we're budgeting roads or bridges that we contract out. And so we need to talk about what your plan is for that department. Zane will be with us as well, and he'll have what his plan looks like for next year. So we can come up with some ideas there. And then hopefully we'll have some time to circle back to some personnel discussion. There were a lot of questions that needed some more research, either on Anna's part or Randy McGraw's, and so we're hoping that we'll have some further information to present to you on Friday as well, so that when we leave Friday, everything for the most part has been covered, general fund speaking. The only other thing today, I thought, and since the sheriff's office is also here, we went through their operating budgets yesterday, and I know we did that kind of quickly, and their capital outlay. And so, our goal through this process is to get your intent. Are you good with these requests and these budgets? you do not, of course, you're not making a decision right now. That's not done till we adopt the budget. But at least as we know, at this point, if you're good with them, we'll start, being able to put together the proposed budget document. So, those departments are maintenance of equipment, the sheriff, jail and Jack Harwell, and then the 2 medical departments for each facility. The majority of the increase was the medical contract, the new medical contract, and then David walked through the increases yesterday. And so I just wanted to see what the consensus was, is that y'all were good with those departments and the reasoning there, or if,
I think they were efficiently presented, and I'm good with the presentation right now.
okay.
I'm
I
not
think
saying that final.
we'll qualify that we may have questions as we kind of move forward, but
Definitely.
don't need any more additional information right now.
Okay. So we just want to just kind of put those aside and check off that we're good there. And then capital outlay, he went through the vehicles, the equipment, there were some copiers and other things like that, law enforcement equipment.
Yeah, I do remember that, I think we had asked Anna to get back with David, I believe that's right, on one of those positions that was a no, but he said there was some additional information. She didn't have the time. Is that correct, David?
Correct. She's
Okay.
reached out and we've sent some of that information back
Okay,
to her.
okay.
Some of that was.
Which position was that?
At the pharmacy.
It wasn't with, to help, take some of the pressure off of Captain Nixon. It was the other position, wasn't it? What was it?
Personnel.
Personnel. Oh, yeah, for all those
yeah,
record
pharmacy.
searches, the record searchers. Yeah.
And then was there a decision made on helping Captain Nixon out?
It was a yeah, I mean, she had a, she thought that was,
No, it was a no. It was a no on her sheet.
Yeah,
And that's why I
That's-
mentioned that to the court.
and so, were y'all gonna talk more about it with her, or?
did you furnish her any more information on that one?
So ultimately, mind if I?
Yeah, go please.
Ultimately, when that was presented, or when she came up here and spoke on that position, she may have changed it since then, Commissioner, but it was a no when I saw it yesterday. She said that it was a pilot position for the sheriff's office, which is 1/5 of what it actually is intended for. That's a very short scope to what we were actually asking for, which is just special operations for boat, bomb, aviation, drone, everything that they do to try to reallocate some of that work time away from your MOE director back to the special operations division. And it's a proletariat level position. We're not asking for a supervisor or anything like that. There was also a little bit of discussion, Commissioner Perry, in regards to, what is a stipend or a salary look like for a commercial certified pilot? And the discussion was, we're just not there yet, right? We just need the base position first, and then we need to think about how that can be presented and administered to the court in a way that's palatable, to where if the commercial pilot's license went away, there is still a completely effective amount of duties that would be going on for that individual as a proletariat level employee. So,
And correct me, because he did meet with me, but if the helicopter goes up, he pretty much has to be in it.
every time.
And see, that's just unreasonable.
Well, that's what I was
It's
saying,
totally unreasonable.
24/7, 365, you're never not on call.
Yeah, and it's a lot more frequent than you think. So Captain Nixon, of course, has statistics for.
Could we look into
all
that
those
and have
planes.
further discussion?
In the meantime, I'm continuing my classes on flying a helicopter with the University of Las Vegas.
You doing it online?
Yeah, it's kind of a crapshoot.
They just send you a joystick in the mail and you just sit there. That's nice.
Okay, Anna's on, and if any other questions,
Anna, I guess, since I wasn't here yesterday, what I'm gonna say is, it's totally unreasonable to have one person on call 24/7, 365. It's unreasonable. So if you don't agree with the request, how would you recommend we fix that?
Sure, I would agree that that is unreasonable. Sorry, when the position was first described to me, it was heavy on piloting duties, and that was the main function that was presented. And so now I understand there are other functions. And so in response to that, I asked for kind of the change in cases or work volume associated with the request. Related to specifically pilot duties, I pointed out in response or in my comments associated with the request that we're reporting to TAC that we actually have 3 pilots on staff and 1 reserve pilot. And, and so specific to that, it does appear like we do have other support for that. Just today, David Ives did email me kind of the Crime in Texas report, but that was kind of related to another item. If there's a way he can help me synthesize that, he may already have the case volume or the work volume associated to this specific request that he can share so we can review that.
We do.
And my understanding is that the other pilots that are listed aren't quite rated yet to the point where they can go up
None of
by
them fly solo
themselves.
except
So
for.
although they're listed as a pilot, they still have to have someone in the cockpit with them. And I don't know if you heard, Anna, but if we don't figure this out, Judge Felton's taking lessons right now. This could end up ugly.
Could be bad.
Yeah, the vision test may be.
We have a
challenge.
backup plan.
There's one liver in a helicopter you need to know, and that's liver alone.
Liberal.
I don't know if I can reach pedals anyway.
It's not for me either, Judge.
Oh, that's that, one of y'all did.
But no, we'll give that information to HR, provide for the special operations duties that are going on with that division as far as aviation, boat, bomb, everything that this individual is going to have to be qualified, certified, and engaged in to help actually relieve Captain Nixon of some of those constant call-outs that he has, so.
Okay, so we're still working on it.
While Anna's on, I would say, Anna, thank you for getting out that new cost of living adjustment.
Oh, you're welcome.
Got
Yes.
All right, thank you, David.
So for just related to the sheriff's office, there were 3 items that David and I kind of are still working together on. He emailed me some examples of cert pay policies that other entities or agencies have. And so we're reviewing that now to see if there's not some sort of outline we can create for a program. And then also those 2 positions that were referenced right now in court, which is this special ops type position, and then also the reclassification to from a deputy to a corporal. So we're for the personnel division, we're also reviewing that still.
Okay. All right.
And then also just to kind of also come back to the sheriff's office, you know, he also went through his capital outlay, the largest portion being the vehicles. And so I didn't see any pushback on any of the items he presented, but again, let me know if there's something that you'll want information on. Again, when you come back, you may say, hey, we've got to cut capital purchases by this percentage or something, and we'll come back to it, of course, but I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything that, that I interpreted incorrectly, so.
16 vehicles, right? Which is what
Yes,
we
sir.
normally- Okay,
Yes,
that's what I was thinking.
okay, just checking in there, so. Okay.
And you did say Friday, you're gonna have information like how the COLA looks, and are we gonna have?
So yes, we can plug those in whenever, so I hope that we have time on Friday to get to that, and
As far as I'm concerned, we have all day, so I'm
we're
offering,
here as long as you need.
I'm offering if, I need to get legal to give me coverage on this, but, to have a little working lunch here, so we don't have to leave and go back, but,
Sure, wait till I'm not here.
so anyhow, we just gotta find somebody's budget to hit. Other than that. But anyhow, I'll communicate back out, on that and what we'll have.
Yeah, so I hope to get there where
Will
we're
you
seeing it
Uber
all
Eats
in
to me?
there. We start just changing COLA, changing tax rate, and you can really see, so that when you're away from here next week, you know, you get a glimpse of what this total package looks like. So that's my
My
plan.
thought, for me, I'd like to see what the COLA looks like. I don't know if we can get what health insurance is going to look like before we start doing individual new positions
Yes,
and
we
raises.
can definitely, we'll definitely.
What
plan
it looks
to show
like,
you.
especially on the tax rate, since I've heard the goal for the tax rate So we kind of need to see what does it look like before we start putting a whole bunch of stuff in.
Yes, ma'am.
And the COLA that we've gotten, that you've given us before, that included all budgeted positions. Isn't that what we talked about yesterday or something? That when you figure COLA, you figure it on all budgeted positions, not just field positions?
Yeah, it's on everything.
Because you really don't know when you're plugging it in.
Because the budget has to include that salary listing with what the max salary is you all set to give to departments to manage. So yes, yeah, that is correct.
Okay, because I know you've sent us a 2, 3, 5, 7, I guess that's what you
We
said.
can plug in whatever,
Yeah.
whatever figure.
Okay.
Okay? And in regards to COLA and health and all those other benefits, I'd like to look at those all together. You know, not look at one day and come look at the other. We need to see what the total, compensation plus benefits and all that is, so we really know what we're doing for the employees. and get that. Anything else? Now, we're posted separately for Friday, right?
Yes, sir.
We can, I can properly adjourn this.
And 9 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Speak now, forever hold the peace. All right, we stand adjourned.